"That's not true! It's impossible! Who could have done such a thing?" "The Emperor's father and the Queen of England, his grandmother, both acting under the influence of the Emperor Frederick." "Impossible! I repeat, it is impossible." "The correspondence is in the hiding place at Veldenz Castle, and I alone know the secret of the hiding place." The stranger walked up and down with an agitated step. Then he stopped short. "Is the text of the treaty included in that correspondence?" "Yes, Sire. It is in your father's own hand." "And what does it say?" "By that treaty, France and Great Britain granted and promised Germany an immense colonial empire, the empire which she does not at present possess, and which has become a necessity to her, in these times, to ensure her greatness." "And what did England demand as a set off against that empire?" "The limitation of the German fleet." "And France?" "Alsace and Lorraine." The Emperor leant against the table in silent thought. Lupin continued: "Everything was ready. The cabinets of Paris and London had been sounded and had consented. The thing was practically done. The great treaty of alliance was on the point of being concluded. It would have laid the foundations of a definite and universal peace. The death of your father destroyed that sublime dream. But I ask your Imperial Majesty, what will your people think, what will the world think, when it knows that Frederick III., one of the heroes of 1870, a German, a pure and loyal German, respected by all, generally admired for his nobility of character, agreed to the restitution of Alsace Lorraine, and therefore considered that restitution just?" He was silent for an instant, leaving the problem to fix itself in its precise terms before the Emperor's conscience, before his conscience as a man, a son and a sovereign. Then he concluded: "Your Imperial Majesty yourself must know whether you wish or do not wish history to record the existence of that treaty. As for me, Sire, you can see that my humble personality counts for very little in the discussion." A long pause followed upon Lupin's words. He waited, with his soul torn with anguish. His whole destiny was at stake in this minute which he had conceived and, in a manner, produced with such effort and such stubbornness, an historic minute, born of his brain, in which his humble personality, for all that he might say, weighed heavily upon the fate of empires and the peace of the world. Opposite him, in the shadow, Cæsar stood meditating. What answer would he make? What solution would he give to the problem? He walked across the cell for a few moments, which to Lupin seemed interminable. Then he stopped and asked: "Are there any other conditions?" "Yes, Sire, but they are insignificant." "Name them." "I have found the son of the Grand Duke of Zweibrucken Veldenz. The Grand Duchy must be restored to him." "Anything else?" "He loves a young girl, who loves him in her turn. She is the fairest and the most virtuous of her sex. He must marry her." "Anything else?" "That is all." "There is nothing more?" "Nothing. Your Majesty need only have this letter delivered to the editor of the Grand Journal, who will then destroy, unread, the article which he may now receive at any moment." Lupin held out the letter, with a heavy heart and a trembling hand. If the Emperor took it, that would be a sign of his acceptance. The Emperor hesitated, and then, with an abrupt movement, took the letter, put on his hat, wrapped his cloak round him and walked out without a word. Lupin remained for a few seconds, staggering, as though dazed. Then, suddenly, he fell into his chair, shouting with joy and pride: "Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction, I am sorry to say good bye to you to day." "Why, M. Lupin, are you thinking of leaving us?" "With the greatest reluctance, I assure you, Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction. Our relations have been so very pleasant and cordial. But all good things must come to an end. My cure at the Santé Palace is finished. Other duties call me. I have resolved to make my escape to night." "Then I wish you good luck, M. Lupin." "A thousand thanks, Monsieur le Juge d'Instruction." Arsène Lupin waited patiently for the hour of his escape, not without asking himself how it would be contrived and by what means France and Germany, uniting for the joint performance of this deserving work, would succeed in effecting it without creating too great a scandal. Late in the afternoon, the warder told him to go to the entrance yard. He hurried out and was met by the governor, who handed him over to M. Weber. M. Weber made him step into a motor car in which somebody was already seated. Lupin had a violent fit of laughter. "What? You, my poor old Weber! Have they let you in for this tiresome job? Are you to be responsible for my escape? Upon my word, you are an unlucky beggar. Oh, my poor old chap, what hard lines! First made famous through my arrest, you are now to become immortal through my escape." He looked at the other man. "Well, well, Monsieur le Préfet de Police, so you're in the business too? That's a nasty thing for you, what? If you take my advice, you'll stay in the background and leave the honour and glory to Weber. It's his by right. And he can stand a lot, the rascal." The car travelled at a fast pace, along the Seine and through Boulogne. At Saint Cloud they crossed the river. "Splendid!" cried Lupin. "We're going to Garches. You want me there, in order to reenact the death of Altenheim. We shall go down into the underground passage. I shall disappear, and people will say that I got through another outlet, known to myself alone. Lord, how idiotic!" He seemed quite unhappy about it. "Idiotic! Idiotic in the highest degree! I blush for shame. And those are the people who govern us! What an age to live in! But you, poor devils, why didn't you come to me? I'd have invented a beautiful little escape for you, something of a miraculous nature. I had it all ready pigeonholed in my mind. The public would have yelled with wonder and danced with delight. Instead of which... However, it's quite true that you were given rather short notice. But all the same..." The programme was exactly as Lupin had foreseen. They walked through the grounds of the House of Retreat to the Pavillon Hortense. Lupin and his two companions went down the stairs and along the underground passage. At the end of the tunnel, the deputy chief said: "You are free." "And there you are," said Lupin. "Is that all? Well, my dear Weber, thank you very much, and sorry to have given you so much trouble. Good bye, Monsieur le Préfet. Kind regards to the missus." He climbed the stairs that led to the Villa des Glycines, raised the trap door and sprang into the room. A hand fell on his shoulder. Opposite him stood his first visitor of the day before, the one who had accompanied the Emperor. There were 4 men with him, 2 on either side. "Look here," said Lupin, "what's the meaning of this joke? I thought I was free." "Yes, yes," growled the German, in his rough voice, "you are free, free to travel with the 5 of us, if that suits you." Lupin looked at him for a second, with a mad longing to hit him on the nose, just to teach him. But the 5 men looked devilish determined. Their leader did not betray any exaggerated fondness for him; and it seemed to him that the fellow would be only too pleased to resort to extreme measures. Besides, after all, what did he care? He chuckled: "If it suits me, why, it's the dream of my life." A powerful covered car was waiting in the paved yard outside the villa. 2 men got into the driver's seat, 2 others inside, with their backs to the motor. Lupin and the stranger sat down on the front seat. "Vorwärts!" cried Lupin in German. "Vorwärts, nach Veldenz!" The stranger said: "Silence! Those men must know nothing. Speak French. They don't know French. But why speak at all?" "Quite right," said Lupin to himself. "Why speak at all?" The car travelled all the evening and all night, without any incident. Twice they stopped to take in petrol at some sleepy little town. The Germans took it in turns to watch their prisoner, who did not open his eyes until the early morning. They stopped for breakfast at an inn on a hillside, near which stood a sign post. Lupin saw that they were at an equal distance from Metz and Luxemburg. From there they took a road that slanted north east, in the direction of Trèves. Lupin said to his travelling companion: "Am I right in believing that I have the honour of speaking to Count von Waldemar, the Emperor's confidential friend, the one who searched Hermann III.'s house in Dresden?" The stranger remained silent. "You're the sort of chap I can't stand at any price," muttered Lupin. "I'll have some fun with you, one of these days. You're ugly, you're fat, you're heavy. In short, I don't like you." And he added aloud: "You are wrong not to answer me, Monsieur le Comte. I was speaking in your own interest. Just as we were stepping in, I saw a motor come into sight, behind us, on the horizon. Did you see it?" "No. Why?" "Nothing." "Still?" "No, nothing at all. A mere remark. Besides, we are 10 minutes ahead; and our car is at least of 40 horse power." "It's a 60," said the German, looking at him uneasily from the corner of his eye. "Oh, then we're all right." They were climbing a little slope. When they reached the top, the count leant out of the window. "Damn it all!" he swore. "What's the matter?" asked Lupin. The count turned to him and, in a threatening voice: "Take care. If anything happens, it will be so much the worse for you." "Oho! It seems the other's gaining on us. But what are you afraid of?